What's up everybody, James Duggan here with IGN, and we're going to be breaking down the Battlefield 5 Gamescom trailer, going through all the weapons, all the vehicles, and other goodies that appear in the trailer. I did my absolute best to identify every weapon in this trailer, and I want to give a shout out to Wikipedia for providing information on those weapons after I identified them. Links to any of the information I sourced from Wikipedia can be found in the description. Now, I'm bound to mispronounce one name, so if I do, please let me know in the comments. I'm sure you will. Let's get started. Straight away, we can see an Allied troop fall in the mud, fleeing from German forces, wielding a brand new weapon. This is the Beretta M38, or the Beretta M42. It's an Italian SMG used by the Italian, German, Romanian, and Argentinian armies. We can tell that it's the M38 because of the straight magazine and receiver protruding past the rifle grip. Much like the Rebbe of Battlefield 1, it also has a bipod, and this is exciting because this is a weapon that, in spite of being historically accurate, isn't depicted all that often in video games or film. Next, we see a German soldier wielding the STG-44, followed by a Tiger 1 tank. Both of those appeared in the closed alpha. The tank then shoots a building, and during this explosion, if we slow it down, very tricky here on DICE's part, well done hiding this weapon, but you can't hide it from me. This is the silhouette of what looks like an STG-44, but I don't think it is. This is an Allied troop, and if you look closely, the magazine seems to be attached to the stock for the entire animation. So it's possible this is an EM-1 Cobra or EM-2 Mamba, which were very early bullpup prototypes that were designed towards the end of World War II and briefly put into service in 1951. Now, it's also possible that this magazine placement is simply a bug during the explosion, in which case the silhouette also fits the bill of a Johnson LMG. Here we get our first look at the new map Rotterdam with some German troops fleeing across a bridge. At 17 seconds in, we see a fallen German soldier with a gas mask on, though to my understanding, gas will not be a part of Battlefield 5, or at least one can hope, so this is probably just an aesthetic item. This British officer is wielding the Thompson Submachine Gun with the iconic drum magazine and wooden vertical foregrip. He then calls one of his subordinates, who appears to be wielding a WAF-28 based upon the barrel, but if that were the case, the magazine is facing in the wrong direction, so this is more likely the MP35. We see a female soldier straight out of a Slipknot concert with a trench coat and studded boots jumping over a car, wielding what appears to be an MG81 or an MG34 or 42, but the thing to note here is the anti-aircraft sight. That's that rather cliched, large rear sight that you sometimes see depicted in World War II media. Here's another German soldier in a gas mask slapping a magazine into the top of a Bren gun. This next LMG is a Soviet DP-27. You can tell because of the flat, disc-shaped top magazine. We then see a British soldier loading a rifle grenade into an SMLE or small magazine Lee Enfield rifle. If Battlefield 1 is anything to go off of, this is most likely a medic. Next, we get our first look at the fearsome German FG-42 with what looks like a modern-day red dot sight mounted on top, but this is in fact the Mark III free gun reflector sight, which was primarily used on army guns, naval guns, and defensive guns in World War II aircraft. So while this particular reflector sight did exist, it was almost always applied to stationary weaponry. Now remember, in Battlefield 5, you'll be able to put on and take off attachments at will, so this is not an optical variant of an FG-42, but rather just an FG-42 with an optic added. On the right, we can see a Kettenkrad light tractor, which is almost like a motorcycle half-track that was designed to be delivered to troops via plane. At 30 seconds in, we see the Churchill Mark 7, albeit with some different bells and whistles from what we saw in the closed alpha. We also see the soldier wielding an incredibly interesting weapon. This is the M30 Luftwaffe Drilling. It's a shotgun that was issued to pilots for survival and defense purposes. It actually has two 12-gauge shotgun barrels, and the third lower barrel is actually for a rifle round. From a gameplay sense, this means that this weapon will be deadly both up close and far away. This sputtering plane-like rocket is actually the V2, which we saw in the Battlefield 5 closed alpha, as a squad score streak of sorts called in by the squad leader. In the ensuing explosions, we see what appears to be the silhouette of an M1907 SL from Battlefield 1. You'll remember this self-loading rifle from the medic class. We know the Lewis gun and the MP18, as well as a few others, are coming to Battlefield 5 based upon promotions that are happening right now in Battlefield 1, so it seems likely that the M1907 could also make an appearance. Next up, I admit defeat because I have no idea what this weapon is. The best we can do is use context clues to make an inference. This soldier appears to be fighting alongside other German troops, so we can assume this is the MG34, 42, or potentially 81, with a sight that is very similar to the Battlefield 1 optical sight. That particular optic was based upon British Laddie sights. Now, I couldn't find any German variant, so it's possible this is a bit fictitious, but also it might be entirely historically accurate. Here, a German soldier is getting into a Tiger 1 tank. We then see the semi-automatic Gewehr 43, which we saw in the closed alpha. Notably, this particular rifle doesn't have a scope. We get some more shots of the Tiger 1, followed by an MG15 most likely mounted on the top of said Tiger, or potentially on the top of a German half-track. Here is a flare, which we saw in the Battlefield 5 closed alpha, which helps reveal enemies. An Allied soldier looks up to see our first look at aircraft. This is the Bf-109 making a strafing run, then chasing down a British Spitfire. At 1 minute and 4 seconds, we get our very first glimpse at potentially the most iconic World War II weapon. This is the M1 Garand, or if your pronunciation is based upon the inventor's name, the M1 Garand. This is that iconic semi-automatic rifle wielded by American troops that makes an audible ping when the magazine ejects. To the right, we can see a Valentine Mark 8 tank. Here, making another strafing run, is the German Stuka, and we then see the Gewehr 98. This is a German bolt-action rifle that we got to use in Battlefield 1. A soldier climbs inside a Sturmtiger assault tank. Similarly to the V2, this is again one of those squad leader call-ins. It magically turns back into a Tiger 1, and then returns to its original form of the fixed-gun Sturmtiger. The rear gunner of a Bristol plane fights off a Stuka, we get some more aerial dogfighting, and then at 1 minute and 25 seconds in, we get a look at the Kar 98K. Now, frankly, this is just guesswork, but the front sight on this particular rifle is distinct from the rifle shown at 1 minute and 8 seconds. For those wondering what the difference is, the Kar 98K is simply a shorter variant of the Gewehr that ended up replacing it. I'm not sure if this is a cinematic or potentially throwing knives are confirmed, but moving along we get glimpses of the revive mechanic as well as a German half-track. We get our title sequence, and here, can you guess what this is? It is a ring of fire, but what does it represent? This is almost certainly the reveal of Battlefield 5 Battle Royale, and probably represents the circle closing into its final point. We can see a tank, so tank's probably confirmed for that mode, as well as many players who seem to be in disarray jumping off of towers and doing things you'd expect out of a Battle Royale game. That does it for me. Thanks so much for watching. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and of course, for all things Battlefield 5, keep it right here on IGN.